For years, I have closely followed the evolution of the British supermarket landscape, noting how frozen foods have become a staple in nearly every UK household. My medical training at Imperial College London gave me foundational insights into nutrition and public health, but it is only through reviewing robust scientific literature, government guidance, and the most recent food safety news that one grasps the often overlooked risks hiding in the freezer aisle. Today, I want to lay out why UK shoppers, especially families who rely on Tesco, Sainsbury's ASDA, and other leading chains, must start looking far more closely at what ends up in their baskets. In the last decade, the UK has witnessed an alarming rise in metabolic and cardiovascular conditions. These are not just distant statistics, but phenomena I see reflected in clinics and health reports. Much of the blame can be traced to diets increasingly reliant on ultra-processed meals, many of them frozen, loaded with additives, excess salt, and artificial ingredients, all cleverly masked behind clever packaging and value-for-money deals. Recent research, such as the studies recently highlighted by The Lancet and the UK's own NHS reports, leaves little doubt regular consumption of certain types of processed frozen food can significantly raise your risk of obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. Even though supermarkets like Tesco maintain reassuring standards and profess a commitment to consumer safety, my analysis of product recalls and news from the FSA reveals a more complicated reality. Let us begin with understanding the baseline, why so many British homes, including my own, rely so heavily on frozen food. Afford is one of the main drivers. With inflation squeezing every pound, a bag of Tesco battered fish fillets or a tray of frozen chicken nuggets looks like smart budgeting. The challenge is that convenience and low pricing can sometimes conceal poor value both nutritionally and in terms of actual portion size. It's also a direct response to a changing work-life balance in the UK, where longer hours in the office mean less time at the stove. The result is a nation hooked on food that is easy to prepare and long-lasting, but too often high in saturated fats, questionable additives, and synthetic preservatives. This is far from the old model of flash freezing fresh veg or quality cuts. These days, many mainstream frozen items qualify as ultra-processed. A 2025 BBC investigation underscored that over half the average UK household's food intake now comes from such ultra-processed products. Indeed, recent product analyzers found that a basket composed primarily of frozen convenience foods at Tesco, including brands like Bird's Eye and Iceland's own label-ready meals, puts shoppers at increased health risk. If you look at ingredient lists, you'll find additives such as monosodium glutamate (MSG), sodium nitrite, emulsifiers, and modified starches featuring far too often. Before naming specific products to avoid, let's address why these ingredients matter. Many additives are permitted in the UK under regulations that, while strict compared to other countries, do not fully account for the chronic health effects seen when people consume these compounds day after day. Take sodium nitrite, for instance. This preservative, commonly found in processed meats such as frozen sausages and hot dogs from brands like Richmond or Walls, has been linked to increased colorectal cancer risk in recent scientific reviews. Similarly, titanium dioxide, recently banned in the EU but still present in some UK products as a whitening agent, is under investigation due to concerns about genotoxicity. Even seemingly neutral additives like carboxymethylcellulose and polysorbate 80, used for texture in supermarket-name frozen desserts and some value-range ready meals, have shown negative effects on gut health in animal studies. Though single exposures are not likely to harm, the reality of cumulative exposure is troublesome. UK data from Public Health England as of this year estimates that up to 50% of children and more than a third of adults exceed recommended daily salt intake, due in large part to hidden sodium in processed frozen foods. Let's talk about the problem of undisclosed or misleading labeling next. Consumers frequently assume that if an item is stocked by Tesco or Sainsbury's, it is safe by default. Sadly, recent Food Standards Agency bulletins listed several Tesco frozen ready meals and some own-brand bakery goods that had to be recalled for undeclared allergens and, in one case, improper storage leading to contamination risk with Listeria monocytogenes. It's a reminder that even trusted chains can slip up. One 2025 review of UK supermarket labelling practices pointed to a troubling gap: unclear front-of-pack traffic light systems and marketing claims like low in fat or high in protein that often mask an unhealthy overall profile. Take, for example, Tesco's own brand, Healthy Living frozen ready meals. While the branding suggests they are good choices, my analysis shows several of these meals exceed UK guidelines for salt and are packed with bulking agents and added sugars. Likewise, the term "made with 100% chicken breast" on products like Bird's Eye frozen nuggets does not mean there are no other ingredients. Most nuggets include at least 5 other fillers and stabilizers. Nowhere is this clearer than in the case of frozen processed fish. UK shoppers have long trusted the frozen section for affordable sources of protein like breaded cod fillets and fish fingers, yet recent studies have shown huge disparities in quality and nutritional content. Brands such as Young's and even Tesco's own value line have occasionally bulked out their products with water and potato starch, raising questions about actual protein content and value for money. Some batches, reported by BBC News and Which? Magazine, were found to contain up to 40% less fish than advertised once water weight was subtracted. In 2024, a joint investigation by the Marine Conservation Society and the Environmental Justice Foundation reported that many supermarket fish fingers and seafood mixes failed sustainability checks, either due to problematic sourcing from overfished stocks or unregulated foreign suppliers. Some frozen prawns and mixed seafood products sold at Tesco and ASDA included species from regions with patchy environmental records, further undermining UK consumer trust in supermarket supply chains. Another concern linked both to nutrition and food safety is the widespread use of palm oil and hydrogenated vegetable fats to improve shelf life and texture in frozen pizzas, desserts, and snacks. While these ingredients allow for the long storage times shoppers value, they also bring high levels of saturated fat and, in the case of palm oil, a heavy environmental footprint. The UK has made gains in reducing trans fats, but saturated fat remains a real concern. Check labels on products such as Chicago Town pizzas and budget-owned label lines. These can easily exceed a third of your recommended daily intake of saturated fat, even for a single serving. The environmental cost is equally pressing. Tesco has made public commitments to source certified sustainable palm oil, but watchdog groups note that compliance and traceability remain inconsistent, especially in low-cost, high-volume frozen products. Despite all this, the greatest risk may still be convenience culture itself. The British love for quick, easy meals is understandable, given modern pressures, but it comes with subtle downsides. The calorie density and poor fiber content of most frozen ready meals is a recipe for long-term health problems, promoting weight gain and increasing the risk of insulin resistance. As I've seen in clinical practice, these are precisely the risk factors now leading to a rise in type 2 diabetes among younger age groups. The average Tesco value pizza, for instance, offers over 600 kilocalories per serving with minimal fiber or micronutrients. Compare this to a homemade meal built from basic, whole ingredients, and the difference is obvious not only on the label but in the results on the patient's blood test and waistline. Now, it's essential to discuss viable alternatives that fit the real constraints British shoppers face. Afford remains a major hurdle, but there are strategies and products that align better with a healthy diet. Take Tesco's own brand frozen vegetables, for example. These offer far better nutritional value than most battered or breaded options, retaining vitamins and minerals due to flash freezing soon after harvesting. Similarly, Tesco's frozen wild Atlantic salmon fillets are a smarter protein choice than most processed fish products, generally offering a higher content of heart-healthy omega-3s with far fewer additives, though you should still check sourcing information where possible. When it comes to ready meals, seeking out naked versions dishes with minimal added sauces and no batter or crumb coating reduces both additive and caloric intake. Preparing larger batches of your own food and freezing leftovers is another proven tactic, giving you all the cost and convenience benefits with far more control over ingredients. Labeling literacy is an indispensable tool for every UK consumer. Always study the traffic light system and ingredient lists, but also dig deeper. For instance, a green label may only indicate that one macronutrient falls in the safe zone, while sodium, fat, or sugar may still be excessive. Check whether named ingredients such as chicken or cod appear at the start of the list, signaling a higher proportion, or if water, wheat flour, or reconstitute fillers dominate. Recall the Food Standards Agency's push for clear, front-of-pack information and use it to compare not just between brands but among Tesco's own range products, which can vary dramatically. Over the last year, watchdogs such as Which have highlighted how, for products like frozen pies and desserts, avoiding those with lists longer than 10 ingredients is a simple and effective rule of thumb. As someone who has advised both NHS trusts and community groups, I've seen firsthand the transformation that comes from just a few small shifts in frozen food buying habits. For UK families, my advice is always the same: prioritise fewer, higher quality products, and when possible, choose frozen single ingredients rather than mixed, pre-prepared, or battered products. Tesco's mixed, unsourced vegetables are generally a safe bet. Iceland's Slimming World meals, despite their branding, frequently contain added gums and starches that don't improve nutrition or satiety. When in doubt, shop the freezer's periphery, avoiding the central offers bays stacked with processed meat products, party snacks, and frozen desserts heavy in artificial flavors and emulsifiers. To close this first part, it is vital to remember that frozen food is not inherently unhealthy. In fact, proper freezing can retain nutrients better than refrigeration for certain items and can provide an invaluable buffer against food waste and inflated costs. The problem lies with ultra-processed options and misleading marketing, a culture of convenience over careful eating, and supermarket strategies that reward volume over quality. With a little planning, label reading, and insistence on transparency from chains like Tesco, Sainsbury's, and ASDA, any shopper can make the freezer aisle an asset rather than a liability. In the second half of this guide, I will dive deeper into specific product warnings, present some of the 10 items I advise you to avoid immediately, and detail the best alternatives readily available throughout the UK supermarket landscape. Let me take you behind the headlines and news bulletins to shed light on what matters most for British families and their health when navigating the frozen aisles at supermarkets like Tesco, Sainsbury's, and Iceland. Many people still believe that products from trusted chains must be safe, but recent events have shown how modern supply chains can allow lapses with serious risks. In July 2025, a major batch of frozen ready meals supplied to Tesco was urgently recalled due to concerns over Listeria contamination, a potentially deadly bacterium that particularly threatens the elderly, pregnant women, and those with weakened immune systems. Just a month earlier, several lines of Tesco basil pesto and semi-dried tomato pasta and chicken and chorizo pasta were also pulled from shelves during a salmonella scare. These are not rare events since the beginning of the year. UK consumers have faced over a dozen recall alerts from supermarkets due to allergens, undeclared ingredients, and evidence of improper handling. Such news highlights that vigilance must not stop at the door of your favourite supermarket, no matter how reassuring the branding or pricing may seem. Frozen meals positioned as healthier options have grown rapidly in recent years, with Tesco's low-calorie and Gym Kitchen brands leading the drive towards calorie-controlled convenience. On paper, these meals appeal to consumers by offering portion sizes, sugar reductions, and sometimes added protein thanks to pea or soy derivatives. However, as the scientific literature on ultra-processed foods continues to grow, a consistent theme emerges. Such products may pose unexpected health risks not because of overt calories but due to their reliance on reconstitute meat or plant proteins, blended fillers, preservatives, and flavorings that rarely appear in unprocessed meals. Studies published this year by both the British Medical Journal and The Lancet reinforce that diets with high percentages of ultra-processed foods are associated with increased cardiovascular risk and poorer metabolic profiles even in people whose overall calorie intake appears controlled. My own analysis of several ready meals from both Tesco and Iceland in 2025 found that protein promises on the label can be undermined by low fiber levels, high sodium content, and a lack of micronutrients such as vitamin C, potassium, and magnesium. True nutrient density, which matters for long-term energy and health, cannot be equated with added vitamins alone. Consumers seeking better choices in frozen fish should take note of the rising standards in responsible sourcing and sustainability, but also remain critical of misleading green claims. Premium brands like the Fish Society and John West, available at Ocado and Sainsbury's, now offer a broader selection of MSC-certified wild-caught fish, which provides both environmental responsibility and a relatively clean ingredient label. Recent industry awards confirmed that John West's Eco with skipjack tuna and MSC-certified Norwegian cod are among the best UK supermarket options for those wanting low-contaminant, traceable seafood. Meanwhile, Iceland Foods broke new ground in 2025 by launching the world's first own brand, MSC-certified Argentinian red shrimp, setting a new benchmark for supermarket chains. Conversely, many budget or unbranded seafood mixes, especially those found in Tesco's value range, are likely to be bulked out with water and low-value species, as well as lacking sustainable credentials. The protein content on the back of the pack can look sizable, but when adjusted for additives, the nutritional value often falls short. Watching for the MSC blue label and reading the percentage of actual named fish on the packaging are simple first steps towards making more responsible shopping decisions. When it comes to ready meals, I have advised patients and readers to beware of lines that seem better only through clever marketing. For instance, Tesco's new high-protein range is repeatedly praised in the press and customer reviews, and at first glance, it looks ideal for post-exercise recovery or those wishing to control weight. Yet, a close reading of the ingredient list and nutritionals by calculating sodium per serving and the amount of processed starches or emulsifiers reveals a more complex, less healthy profile. Many of these meals depend on chicken pieces that contain water, stabilizers, and relatively little unprocessed meat compared to a home-cooked breast or thigh. The use of hydrolyzed soy protein, common in gym kitchen meals at Tesco, echoes scientific warnings that these ingredients should be seen as occasional rather than daily staples. Checking the nutritional information relating to the portion size you actually intend to eat, not the misleading per 100 grams reference, is crucial. Industry analyzers have also drawn attention to the prevalence of bulking agents, which can distort the cost-value equation many consumers assume is self-evident with larger, cheaper packets or multi-pack deals. Turning to desserts and frozen treats, the landscape is equally fraught with hidden hazards. Brands like Carte d'Or, Ben & Jerry's, and supermarket-owned label frozen desserts are often high in saturated fats, sugars, and artificial sweeteners. In 2025, the Food Standards Agency signaled growing public concern about the health effects of frequent exposure to sweeteners such as aspartame and acesulfame K, both of which feature in low-sugar ice creams and light desserts. The British Dietetic Association notes that eating such sweeteners in moderation is generally safe for most healthy adults, but children, pregnant women, and the immunocompromised are best served by limiting intake. Troublingly, many cheaper frozen desserts also still rely on vegetable shortening high in saturated fat, providing few of the polyunsaturated or monounsaturated fats recommended by heart health guidelines. Since dessert portions tend to be underestimated by consumers, this category is especially relevant for those seeking to maintain a healthy weight. Equally problematic are frozen processed meats, and party foods a mainstay of the British family freezer. Products such as Richmond sausages, Tesco's value burgers, and Bird's Eye frozen chicken or breaded bites consistently score poorly in independent nutritional audits. Not only are these options high in salt and saturated fat, they tend to include added phosphates, sodium nitrite, and low-value mechanically separated meat, each carrying well-established health warnings when consumed frequently. For example, the World Health Organization and several recently published meta-analyses connect high intake of processed meats with increased colorectal cancer risk. It is especially concerning that marketing for these items so often stresses value and child-friendly appeal while sidestepping long-term health risks. The environmental and ethical dimension of frozen food choices is impossible to ignore in the 2020s. Lidl, Aldi, and Tesco now tout their sustainability credentials, and the prevalence of Marine Stewardship Council and Aquaculture Stewardship Council seals has risen. Nevertheless, only rigorous consumer scrutiny keeps greenwashing at bay. Many products still use excessive plastic packaging, with little truly recyclable or compostable content. Standout brands advancing best practice include Co-op, with its Pollock fish pie pathways for traceable, sustainable fish, and Iceland, thanks to its global first launch of MSC Argentinian red shrimp. The lesson is that simply trusting supermarket branding is not enough. Informed consumers must regularly challenge and demand more from all major retailers. When working with families in NHS Outreach, I have witnessed the deterrent effect of rising prices and the temptation of special offers. However, value can be found with some simple pivots. Swapping battered or breaded convenience items for plain frozen fillets, even when the initial price per kilo seems higher, delivers longer satiety and greater nutritional density. Bulk buying Tesco's vegetable medley or freezing home cooked rice and bean dishes both delivers savings and supports a healthier diet. Budget shoppers in particular should shift focus towards those products in the freezer that list the food itself, not water, flour, or renumbers as the main ingredient. For busy parents, prepping larger batches of soups or stews and freezing portions at home gives the household both control and convenience. Examining shrinkflation, the reduction in pack size with static or rising price, should also become routine, since this practice increasingly affects portion size and hence the true cost per meal. Summing up, the state of the UK's frozen aisles is paradoxical, packed with nutritious potential, but pockmarked with health and transparency pitfalls. The recent spate of recalls for allergy risk, bacteria such as Salmonella and Listeria, and the growing documentation of ultra-processed food consequences signals that the British consumer must shop with rigour and critical judgment, not just habit. Thankfully, supermarket options are broadening to include more single-ingredient packs, fewer unnecessary additives, and better environmental stewardship. But only with better education, regular reading of scientific developments, and a willingness to ask difficult questions of even our most trusted shops can we achieve real health for ourselves and our families. My work both as a health specialist and as a British citizen has convinced me that progress begins not with fear-mongering, but with scientific literacy and empowered, evidence-based choices in every aisle of the UK's supermarkets.